Music. Good morning, Dal.
Hello, Jason. How are you, man?
Hello. Good. I guess it's not morning there, is it? It's like 4 o'clock?
Yes, it's just
1600?
yes, it's just after 4 here. We're all locked in our homes now. You know, we have a second lockdown in Israel. The situation here is pretty bad.
Yeah. Are you in Tel Aviv?
Yes, I'm right now. I'm in the center of Tel Aviv. You know, it's like the best place to live. You know, it's individual, but it's it's an area of a very high demand.
Okay. Yeah, I'm barely familiar with Tel Aviv. When I was there, I was staying right on the ocean, but I couldn't tell you where. But man, it was beautiful. I loved it. I love Tel Aviv.
I would say it's about a 10-minute walking from the ocean and where the hotels usually are.
Yeah.
We try to go there like 5 or 6 times a week, you know, to get some work in and walk a little bit because it's getting a little bit hard to stay at home like all day long.
Right. It's one thing I noticed on that's the Mediterranean right there, right?
It is.
Yeah. One thing I noticed is when there's like a little coffee shop right on the ocean, and we were hanging out having some Turkish coffee, and I just noticed there's all these guys that were probably like in their 60s or 70s working out like on the beach. It was something that you don't see very much in America. Just all these guys like staying fit. It was really cool.
Yes, you wouldn't believe the amount of people you'll see right now on the beach trying to stay fit because they've locked everything, and you know. You could.
Oh, sure.
It's literally thousands of people right now on the beach trying to work out, you know, because we have a lot of these like open gyms with all these very simplistic gymnastics, but we try to get everything we can.
That's awesome. So we know each other from Agalloch playing in Tel Aviv. Was it like 8 years ago?
A little more even.
Right?
It was.
Really?
I think it was 9 years ago, almost to the day. No, not to the day. It was November 2011, right?
That's right. That sounds right. Because I remember it was over Thanksgiving, and people were really sick of me making the joke that Israel does Thanksgiving right.
You know, it was such a different time in my life than I am now. I met my fiance. We are together ever since, obviously, but I met her like 3 weeks before this concert, so you can imagine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, we just started dating, and I just started college. It was a perfect time for Agalloch to come and play here, at least for me.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because we're actually scheduled to play there, I think in June or July, and Yishai, the promoter, basically flat out told us, don't come here in the dead of summer. You will melt. It's too hot. It's too humid.
You would have hated it. You would have hated it, really.
That's what he kept telling us. And so we did it over Thanksgiving, which our families weren't very stoked about having us away for the American holiday. But man, I totally enjoyed my time there. We were only there for 3 or 4 days, but we got to go see Jerusalem. Spent the day in Jerusalem. We explored Tel Aviv. Of course, the show was awesome. I think it was the longest performance we ever played. It was 2.5 hours or so.
You know, when Yishai introduced you guys on stage and I really understood how long this was going to be, I was like, oh man, are we in for the treat of our lives? No, it was good, actually, you know.
Yeah.
And that break you had in the middle, you know, it's something you don't see every day. I think only when Porcupine Tree played here it was like that long, and we had also the recess in the middle and everything.
Yeah, I know for a fact. I mean, we've played some long shows, like 2-hour plus shows, but I know for a fact that's the only one where we had like an intermission of sorts. But that was very memorable for all of us. You know, going all the way to Israel for one show, not something we did every day. It was really, really special. And the people there that we met, there's so many people there that we met that we've run into at festivals and, you know, in the years since, and that we're Facebook friends with, and, you know, things like that. And that's really special. And we got so many cool gifts. The fans gave us, handmade necklaces and things like that. And that was really amazing.
Yes, Israelis, we tend to be very, very warm people. I work with people from all over the world, and people keep telling me that. I've worked with numerous people from like a lot of countries. Yeah. And we do have some things that we tell everything to your face. We usually don't have any blockage between our minds and our mouths, but
that's all right.
It comes, yes. It's different from American people. When an American boss tells you I'm confused, you're in trouble.
Right.
When an Israeli one tells you I'm confused, it means he's really confused.
That's really funny. So when Agalloch was there, we did a signing at a place called the Metal Shop. Is that right?
Yes. This was basically like a shrine for metal fans to come and buy.
Yeah, it was
merch.
Incredible.
I wasn't able to make it that day, but I saw pictures and I had good friends go there. And I used to go. I used to live back when the metal shop still existed. I didn't live in Tel Aviv. I lived in Holon, which was my hometown. And I all throughout the time that the metal shop existed, I used to go there at least once a month, to meet the people and to get some music. And I think that in 2015, the place finally shut down, and it was really sad. Yes, it's really sad for the local metal fans and the metal community because. And there are places where you can get metal music, but not exclusively metal music, And as a metal fan, you can probably understand what it means. And our country is so small, we don't have the kind of variety you can get in America. And that was really sad for us. But yes, that place was really cool.
Well, they had such an interesting selection of things. It was like all the new releases, but then they had the t-shirt selection was insane. It was like all these shirts that I bought as a teenager in the 90s, and they looked like the exact same ones. It was like going through a portal. It was amazing. I walked out of there with probably like 10 different t-shirts. I found my very first ever Lawnmower Death t-shirt, and I just adore those guys. So I was incredibly excited.
Yes, you could find some gems there. That's really nice.
Yeah. I bought this Lawnmower shirt, and it was too small for me, but I was like, I'm gonna wear the shit out of this shirt. But it was super uncomfortable because it was too small, and I ended up giving it to my daughter, and now she wears it all the time. She still wears it. It's like almost 10 years old.
So souvenirs from abroad are always good.
Yeah. Oh, and of course you have to. I brought my kids like these little stuffed camels, I believe they were, that I got somewhere on the beach at some shop, and it's always fun to get little souvenirs for the kids.
I'm really satisfied to hear that it was a unique experience for you guys.
Oh, it was incredible. We all totally loved it. And Don and I had known Yishai for years previous to that, so it just made sense that he would bring us over, and I think it was beneficial to everybody involved. We had a great time.
I couldn't tell you enough about the contribution of Yishai to the scene. I mean, I can't even imagine. I wouldn't know where we were and how many artists we've been able to see if it wasn't for him.
Mm-hmm. I can't even imagine. I mean, he's been doing it forever.
Yes, and thankfully for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hats off to Yishai. So I asked you to prepare basically a playlist of Israeli bands. And you have done that, correct?
I have.
That's amazing. So we're going to do kind of like a Israeli scene report of sorts. Do you want to launch into it?
Yes. The first song I'll be playing is probably by maybe the first Israeli metal band for sure, but I think the one that had the most impact on me also. And you've met these guys.
I have a pretty good idea who it is then.
Yeah. It was really hard for me to pick the song, but I picked this one for a reason.
Okay. This has got to be Salem.
It is. Okay. And And Salem were actually the first Israeli metal band I've heard. And it was the first concert that I ever attended. I can tell you that for me it was like such a unique experience.
So what year was this that you got to see them for the first time?
It was 2002.
Okay.
That was the first concert I've ever seen. I think it was like I wasn't even 14 at the time, and there was a forum. It was like the biggest internet forum for metal back in the day, and I saw a post. It was just like when I got into metal, and I saw a post of this band that's doing a launch show in 2 days. It was a Friday night. They launched their album. It was Salem, obviously. The album is Collective Demise. It was their new album at the time. And I asked my dad, could you take me to see this concert?
Okay, yeah.
Obviously, if you knew my dad, you would understand that he didn't come to the concert. He just drove me there. But I can...
Your dad and I go way back. I've known your dad for a really long time.
No, my mom, by the way, is a big music fan.
Was she into metal?
Yes, we were in London almost 12 months ago to see Fields of the Nephilim.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And the reason that I even got in the Fields of the Nephilim at first was because of Agalloch.
Of course, yes. We sold a lot of records for them, I'm sure. And
it was a unique experience in of itself. But when I got to see Salem, I first listened to their song, not this one. This song is the first song off of their Collective Demise, which a long show I attended. But I listened to a song off of Kaddish. And
Kaddish is the classic, I think. Yeah.
Yes, and also there was a dedication that Dawn did for the remaster, and that was pretty big, to see that.
Yeah. Well, I think what you said earlier about Salem is correct. I think obviously it's correct, but they are kind of like the name in Israeli metal, especially like the first name in Israeli metal.
Yeah, you're wearing a Sarcophago tee now, and I am. They were also one of the pioneers. When Sarcophago rose into their frame back in the day, then it was also Salem. Along with a mixture of these names, Beherit and so forth. Also.
Yeah, I love how you say Beherit. Yeah. I love that. I'm gonna start saying it that way. I have no idea what's correct, but Beherit or Beherit. One of my absolute favorite bands.
Yeah, I remember that you wore a tee of them in the Agalloch DVD.
That's right, I did.
Yeah, I have a pretty crazy memory for small details like that.
No, that's great. Yeah, I obviously picked that out on purpose. But a funny note that never really came up is that halfway through that DVD shoot, I had to change shirts, and I don't even remember why. But so there's some like B-roll footage that never got released where I sat down in the exact same spot somehow during the interview and changed my shirt. And so then in the footage, the Beherit logo just disappears. It's the creepiest, weirdest looking thing, but it's hidden on a hard drive somewhere, I'm sure. But anyway, Israeli metal, Salem. Yeah, I haven't... Go for it.
That particular song, it's called "Broken Yet United," and that album is surrounding the enormous wave of terror that Israel was under these days. I remember it as a kid. Every other day there was a bus exploding. Terror was around the corner, literally anywhere in the country. You wouldn't know where it was going to catch you. And this song starts the album, and it really depicts a perfect picture of our country. We also experience it very strongly these days, with COVID.
Yes.
The country, it says the name of the song is Broken Yet United, and it discusses how the Israeli society is so, divided into a lot of cultural and political beliefs. And usually only when really bad things happen, we're united to one. And I believe that during these very, very difficult times, we also don't experience it as strong as we used to. I feel like our society is very, very divided these days.
Yeah,
and I wish it could have been different.
It's extremely divided in America. You feel it there too?
Yes, definitely.
You feel division? Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Do you feel like what you said though, is COVID kind of bringing people together, or do you feel like it's dividing people even further?
At start, it was like bringing us together. Again, Israelis are warm people. You'll see posts about helping this particular individual that he lost his job and he needs money, and people are raising money for any purpose you would think of these days. But
Right.
the most and this sort of and this sort of problem in our society existed. It exists ever since, but these days it's bringing it even more to the attention of everybody, is the fact that religious people are still having huge mass gatherings. And they're not taking any safety precautions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And again, I think that this is not things that we should be focusing on. As a community, as a society, we should just try to stick together and try to go through to just go through this and make sure it's gone fast. And everybody should be responsible for themselves. But there's a lot of criticism towards the religious people these days here.
Well, there is here as well, by certain people, because that is the first people that were petitioning to reopen are the churches, and COVID was spreading here because of church meetings and church gatherings. So I think these things that you speak of are probably worldwide problems. I think that's probably happening everywhere.
I would think that it was only here, but that's I don't know if it's encouraging to hear otherwise. But
yeah, no, I mean even in my my state of Oregon, I know that was like one of the biggest problems was the churches trying to convene back together too soon. So I don't know. Yeah, weird times.
I wish it would just be over. I cannot even think and imagine what touring musicians go through these days.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends that are either musicians or venue owners or sound men or something like that, and they're just out of work.
And I thought that our government is totally ignoring all the everything related to the live music industry or the theaters or music venues, you name it. And I thought that the problem only existed here until 2 days ago. I saw a post of Fields at Nephilim's band manager, and he was also complaining about it. And I was like, okay, so maybe we're not the only country in the world with problems,
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the same here. Global issues, I think. So I'm dying to know what you're going to play second.
So this was Salem, and the next band that I'm going to play is probably I wouldn't say second biggest, because people are going to second guess me, obviously, because this band is considered the biggest one to ever come out of our country. But
and I think it's pretty obvious who you're going to play.
Yes, there's also a nice backstory to this one. This is off my favorite record of theirs.
Okay. Yeah. I recognize it already.
I think that, when I first heard this song, and I also remember the exact date that this was, I was blown away, because I don't think that something like this was ever done before.
Oh, yeah.
This song is actually off their second record, not their first one. I was at some party, metal party, and back then I was still new to the scene. And this song started playing at the party, and I was blown off by this. It was insane. Oh, yeah. And after a couple of days, I realized that the DJ is Kobi Farhi, the vocalist. So that made a lot of sense. But the rest is history, basically. What this band's been able to do for such a long period of time, and
Yeah. I was mid-90s, I was a music journalist. I wrote for some fanzines and ended up writing for Terrorizer and Metal Maniacs later. But so I used to get promos a lot. And I remember getting the promo for Sahara, and it was like nothing I ever heard before. It was just so unique, and I had that on repeat for weeks.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Because they're on Holy, and Holy had some of the best music, especially in the mid-90s.
Wow, I didn't think someone, maybe you, but Holy Records doesn't get the recognition that it should be getting,
No, not at all. But in the 90s, if you were into strange and obscure metal, I mean, Holy was where it was at. They had tons of great bands. In fact, Sculptured was going to be on Holy at one point in time, but we
really
signed. Yeah, we signed a contract with Mad Lion out of Poland first, and then Holy offered us a deal, and so we had to decline, unfortunately. And Mad Lion ended up being nothing, basically. So not awesome. But then we got hooked up at the end, and the rest is history.
Was that before Apollo Ends or before the first one?
That was for the first record. It was actually released by Mad Lion before it was released by The End.
I see.
So The End's version was kind of a reissue.
I also after I got to know Agalloch, I got into Sculptured a lot, and there's even an Israeli band that I constantly compare to Sculptured.
Really?
Yeah. I used to tell their guitarist that they sound like Sculptured, and he's a huge Agalloch fan. And he was like, okay, everything that sounds like Don Anderson, it means it's a huge compliment, so I don't mind.
Well, of course.
I'll be playing this later.
Okay, perfect. So this obviously is Orphaned Land.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think we actually said the name of the band yet.
Yeah, this is off of their second record, El Nora Alila. And they usually don't play these songs live as much as they used to anymore, but I really think that Sahara and El Nora Alila are the peak of their creations to this day. Even though their material really evolved in recent years and they don't really sound like that anymore, but it's very, very unfortunate, but I'll never forget what they've been able to do, and I'm a big fan of this day. And yeah,
so they are probably undoubtedly the biggest metal band in Israel.
Yes, they are very successful, and I think they're the only ones that have actually been constantly touring for years, and what's even more important than the music, we've been enemies with Lebanon, with Syria, with Iraq, with Iran, all those countries. And I don't know if you've seen videos, but you can see videos of Orphaned Land shows on YouTube, and Kobe is asking, who's from Iran, who's from Syria, who's from Lebanon, and who's from Bahrain, and you can see they have fans physically coming to shows from all the Arab countries, and nobody cares that they're Israeli, and they're proud of it. And it's so amazing to see that music is able to bring people together this way.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, well, that's the power of music. It brings people together.
Yes, it is, and this is really, really amazing.
Yeah, I adore Orphaned Land. I am a huge fan of their first two records, and I mean, I love everything they've done, but especially those first two records. Those are the best ones in my opinion. And I listened to them so much in the 90s and early 2000s. I want to revisit them now after hearing them again. But yeah, what a fantastic band!
Did you get to meet him when you were here?
Man, it was so long ago. I want to say one of the members was at the Agalloch show.
Probably. Okay.
But I can't say for sure. I know that somebody from Salem was there. At least, no, I think maybe even everybody from Salem was there.
I think that most of them. You have pictures with Zeev and Nir.
Yeah.
And I think Michael as well. Michael, he passed away. I think it's almost I think 18 months since it happened, And
oh wow, okay.
it was. I'm about to burst in tears when I talk about it, but because they had a fundraiser show. I think it's
Okay.
perfect to speak about it now because Orphaned Land and Salem were actually they say they had some sort of a feud. I think maybe 10 years ago, maybe even before that. Each band was filling out venues on the same day, different venues obviously because they didn't do many shows together. I think I was only in one big festival where both bands, they shared the stage. And, obviously Michael, who was the bassist of Salem, passed away. And Uri from Orphaned Land, he filled his part on this fundraiser show. And Kobe came along to sing. There's actually footage of all this concert. And I have not seen Salem live in many, many years. I want to say before that show, like 7 years, something like that. Maybe a little more. And to see them live again in that special evening was something that I'll never forget.
That's awesome.
That's
so cool.
Michael was the essence of Israeli metal. You would see him in all the most obscure and esoteric metal concerts, like one of the fans. He was like, and you could just approach him. He was also a bassist like yourself, and you two kind of remind me of each other. In that you're very approachable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, bassists tend to be sometimes.
I see.
Unless you're like Flea. I don't know if you'd want to approach someone like Flea. I love Flea. Amazing bassist, but I'm not sure I'd just walk up to him off the street, give him a hug. I'm not sure that's what you do with Flea.
This is the what's unique about our scene, our culture. Everybody feels a little more comfortable, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think so. That's awesome. Yeah, again, love Orphaned Land. What a fantastic band. So Salem and Orphaned Land were the two that I knew you'd play because those are the ones that people outside of Israel know, I feel like. Aside from that, I don't know any Israeli bands, really, I don't think.
Yes, we have many. And I have a selection of, I try to both play some things that are trendy and new and, like the bands that exist now and influential bands from the past. And really, in the early 90s, I was a baby. I just heard about these things, obviously.
Right.
But in the early 90s, the biggest metal thing in Israel was like Paradise Lost, The Gathering, like these early My Dying Bride, the early Doom death bands. They were a huge influence on our scene.
Anathema.
Yeah, obviously. And there was one band that did it better than all the rest. And
from Israel.
Yes, and it is a little bit sad because that band disbanded long ago. Their name is Substance for God. And
I don't believe I've ever heard of them.
Yeah, because they were really big locally. I'm going to play this song. There was this song actually really hard to select, but I'll play their, I guess, most famous and known one. And this is a little bit sad because they released one record, and right after this record was released, I think they signed with Nuclear Blast.
Okay. And
the only thing that was released through Nuclear Blast is a video clip of the song you're listening to right now. And they disbanded a long ago, and their vocalist became very religious in time.
Oh, okay.
And I think it was like 6 years or something that Yishai was trying to bring them together. And he actually even posted a picture of them doing a rehearsal like 5 or 6 years ago. And I was like psyched for this because I would die to see this band live.
Right.
And it's going to be a little bit sad again, but their vocalist actually passed away like a month ago, 2 months ago.
Oh no!
Like. Yes, and it ended every chance of them ever getting together, even though he was very religious, and I would show you the picture later of the rehearsal. It's really strange. You'll see a bunch of metalheads, and ordinary people, and the vocalist looks like a very religious man.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Feel free to send me some of these things that you're speaking of, and I can put them up on the I Hate Music Facebook and Instagram and things like that to tie in with the show.
Yes, and this particular song, I think, put them on the map. I would say, again, they had a deal with Nuclear Blast. Nothing was released eventually, but this album's just great. You can see the obvious influences of Paradise Lost, the Anathema.
Yes.
And also the lyrical themes are exactly the same.
Yeah, they sound very Dutch to me. I would never guess Israel.
No, they're 100% local, and even though this band doesn't exist anymore, I still go back to that album once in a while because it had a huge impact on my taste. And it was really nice to know that local bands could actually do things that sound like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the band name is Substance for God?
Exactly.
And what's the album name?
Assembly of Flowers.
Okay. So is it available like on CD or
yes,
LP
you'll find
or anything
it.
like
Yes,
that?
you'll find it.
Okay.
There was a CD released and you'll find it. It's not hard to come by.
But it wasn't released by Nuclear Blast.
No, it was, I think, B&E, which is the label that Salem released Collective Demise through.
Okay. Yeah, this is classic doom death.
Yeah, exactly. I still come back to this album once a while. Again, it's exactly the type of metal that does it to me.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. And what year was this? This was
I think it was
90s?
I think it was 94 released.
Okay.
And again, during these times, it was like the hottest trend in Israeli metal.
Yeah.
Bands like that. We had Tiamat visiting. Tiamat released.
I love Tiamat.
Yeah, they in the Clouds Astal Sleep era. They actually came here and played a live show here, and it was recorded and released through.
Yeah, I've got the CD.
Yeah, so they played in the Roxen Club, which I didn't exist when everything went on there. But the Roxen Club was like the biggest and most influential and famous metal venue in Israel these days.
That's awesome.
And they used to play in the Roxen practically every week.
Wow.
And we had The Gathering come play during this time.
Yeah.
And Paradise Lost came here a few times and played there. Paradise Lost, Yishai brings them over every 2 years, which I think is awesome. They release an album, they come to Israel.
Yeah, that's great. I haven't kept up with Paradise Lost, but those early records are classic.
Yeah, during this time they were gods in Israel during this time. During Gothic and Icon and Draconian times, they were gods in Israel. They were like Metallica.
Right. Yeah.
They even came to a record store, to do like a signing session, like Agalloch did.
Yeah.
And I hear many stories that windows were broken in the store because there were so many people inside.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's funny because I think they're fairly popular everywhere, but I don't think that would happen in America if they did a signing session here. I don't think they
Again,
would.
they were equivalent to gods back then.
Yeah, that's so
in
crazy.
Israel.
Huh, that's interesting. I've got a really good friend. I think you know of him, Ramin from Iran, and he told me that in Iran, metal is extremely hard to get and extremely hard to even listen to. But he said Anathema was like the equivalent to Paradise Lost for Israel. Like Anathema was like
Really?
the gods there. Yeah, that's what I said too. I was really surprised.
Because again, Anathema, the things that they've released are really big, but
Yeah,
and again,
they're still pretty obscure.
I agree.
It shocked me. He was like, "Oh yeah, Anathema is like the big band in Iran."
By the way, the place to get familiar with bands in Israel back in the day was a metal shop. You went there?
Yeah.
For example, Anathema was a band I was introduced to by Uri from Orphaned Land, the bassist, He used to be there, like, it was his shop, and you would come there, you'd ask him, Uri, can you give me some good doom metal? And you'd get you just get a lot of records, to listen to, and he gave me Serenades one day along with the Gatherings Always, and
love Always,
and Shades of God by Paradise Lost, and a lot of Solitude Eternus. I remember the exact day I was there, and he gave me all of these, great. And I was like, okay, I'm fixed for the next few years. There was also My Dying Bride, Turn Loose the Swans. That's still huge.
Perfect record.
Yeah,
just absolutely love that record. I mean, all those are classic bands that you mentioned. They're all just, those bands really informed a lot of my tastes, especially in the early to mid 90s. Amazing stuff. Turn Loose the Swans. It just doesn't get better than that.
Yes, this is right up my alley. These are the things that I really love. I was supposed, that's not much time after Agalloch were in Israel. The Gathering reunited their original lineup to play, I think it was 20 years for Always.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I had a ticket to go, but then I was a broke college kid, so that was a bit of a problem. Yeah. And I think that maybe a week after that concert in Belgium, there was Agalloch. So I was like, let's get another round. But that didn't pan out for me. But
really?
I really wanted to go.
Yeah, we played Belgium a lot for some reason. That's awesome. So, Substance
for God? Yes, exactly.
For God. Okay. Yeah, that's great. I'm going to have to check that out. That's really cool. What's song number 4?
Okay, so this is really obscure. Even for Israeli metal, it will be obscure, but this is perhaps one of the finest records to ever come out of this country, if you ask me.
Awesome.
This is a Jerusalem-based band, and Jerusalem-based bands, they have their own sub-scene in Israel.
Sure.
Their music tends to be more extreme than other bands.
Okay.
And this album was actually, I don't remember if it was mixed or mastered either, by Greg Chandler of Esoteric, which is like a huge, huge band that I love.
From Esoteric, aren't they Italian?
Yeah. No, they are English.
That's right. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And
my bad.
And Greg Chandler, the leader of Esoteric, I don't remember if it was mixed or mastered. And I had a chance to talk to him not long ago, and I asked him if he remembered this, and he told me, of course, that he loved this band. And I was in the army when this album came out, and it was huge, for me. And again, this is an album that I still go back to from time to time. This was released in 2007. The band's called The Nell, like the Psy song.
Like Nail?
No, Nell. Knell.
Oh,
yes, like the Psy song.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
And this song's called Black Veil and Promise.
Okay.
And this is basically, I think, almost the heaviest doom that we ever had to come out of this. And I just love the intro on this one.
Yeah, I've never heard of this band either.
This is obscure even when it comes to Israeli metal, so...
Yeah.
They released one album and then they disbanded, which I think is pretty unfortunate for me, personally.
Yeah. Did you ever see them?
I have. I saw them on one concert without a bassist.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but... they still sounded awesome.
Yeah, that's doom. That's some serious doom.
That's really borderline funeral doom.
Yeah.
Borderline.
I was going to say it kind of reminds me of like Thurgathon, but not quite.
Yes, it's a little bit more deathish than Thurgathon are. A huge band for me, obviously. And this is, you can see that this is the work of Greg from Esoteric.
Yeah.
And this one, by the way, we had Amorphis come and play here.
Oh yeah.
I think it was a year ago, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe I lost track of time, but yes, they came here it was a perfect concert. You know, the sound was awesome. And in the back of the venue, I saw the singer of this band, Daniel.
Oh wow.
Yes, and you know, I'm a weird person. You know, when I see people, first of all, I have a really strong memory for faces and names.
I do too. I'm really good at faces, especially.
So I was like, I approached him and I was like, "You were the singer of the Nell, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, how do you know that?" and that particular day, I remember that I went to the shower playing this album, and it was still on, and it was still on my Apple, you know, on my Apple Music. It was still on. I showed it to him, and he was like blown away by that.
That's amazing. I love stuff like that. That's so cool.
Yes,
and I love Amorphous too.
Yes, this is something weird that I would be doing, you know, approach random people. But
yeah.
I think as a musician, I think it's nice.
Oh yeah. Musicians have huge egos. They want people to recognize them.
Yeah, so it was an obscure album, even for Israeli metal, and I think that I wanted him to know that they left a mark, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. So obviously they broke up or disbanded for some reason.
Yes, their guitarist and the one who wrote most of the material lives in Santiago in Chile now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You can see how this is doom death, but it's really brutal, you know.
Yeah. So, do these guys have an album, or is it just a demo?
Yes, this album is called, you know, the name's The Nell, and the album is called Harm. No, this would be a little it would be easy to find it on Discogs, but I don't think the entire album is even on YouTube.
Okay.
Yes, I have the physical album somewhere. You know, I got it when I was a soldier, and there was a period of time when I just got enlisted. It was 2006, and I think every metal fan goes through this phase. You know, when I started fading away from the scene, away from metal, and the army totally brought me back.
Oh yeah, that makes sense to me. I can see that. So that's something that you have to do when you're an Israeli citizen, right?
Correct. Right now, I think they've shortened it to 2.5 years for a male, but back in my day, it was still 3 years.
Wow. Okay.
So I was 3 years on the border of Lebanon. You know, I wasn't a combat fighter or something like that. We used the UN has a you know, like a foreign army in Lebanon. They're called UNIFIL, and they've seriously they have like 15,000 soldiers in South Lebanon since the Second Lebanon War, and we were like responsible for the whole connection with UNIFIL.
Okay. Wow.
And I did all this like 100 meters from Lebanon. That was really cool.
Yeah. Wow. I can't even imagine what that's like.
I think that really it's an experience that I think that Americans miss this, you know, most Americans, because they go straight to college, and in some ways they stay kids, and you know, when you go to the army, it's somehow you become an adult really fast, you know.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, that's intense.
Man, I love that part of the song. You see, it slows down again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I love stuff like this. I'm gonna have to check out this record.
Yes, if you cannot find it, I'll try to send the songs, but you would find it easily on Discogs, and it wouldn't even be that expensive.
Okay.
Oh man, I can never get enough of this. You know, and Israeli people who listen to this podcast probably wouldn't even many of them probably wouldn't even recognize this, but for me it was huge.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh man, I just like.
I love that double bass.
Yes, this is why I became silent. I knew this was going to come. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, this one. It was again. This was
fantastic.
This one was really big for me. And again, this is I
really
think maybe a perfect depiction of the Jerusalem metal scene, because again they're a little bit more hardcore than us. You know.
Yeah. That's interesting. I know nothing about Jerusalem, but I spent the day there, and it was so different than anything I've ever experienced in my life that I can't imagine playing in a doom death band from Jerusalem. It just seems so, it doesn't seem like it could exist there. It seemed like, especially where we were just like in the old part of it, or whatever you call it, with the prayer calls and all that. Like it was a different world, totally different world than what I'm used to.
I can totally relate. And, even for a guy that lived, in Tel Aviv for like a lot of years now, Jerusalem is like going abroad. Me and my fiance, we went to Jerusalem. I think it was like 2 years ago. We just spent a weekend in Jerusalem, and I felt like I was abroad somewhere. It's totally different, and it's like a great experience. And
yeah, I loved it.
Jerusalem also, when Shabbat comes on Friday afternoon, the streets become empty like a lockdown, and it's really not. It's a depiction of maybe Judaism in its most, I would say, maybe ancient form, because people, in Tel Aviv, mostly you don't see people like that here. It's like a different culture, and it's really nice to be able to see that. And if we're discussing Jerusalem bands, this is perhaps the most well-known band to ever come out of Jerusalem. I think not most well-known, because this one would be Melechesh. But
okay.
It isn't Melechesh. It's like the next best thing, maybe I would say.
Okay.
It is a Jerusalem band. I don't have the file of it. I'm going to play it off of YouTube, because I do have one song, but I instantly now changed the one that I wanted to play.
That's great. Go off script.
This is going to be after their latest record. This band is called Agalloch. You may have heard of them.
Oh yes, I have heard of them. I'm not sure I've ever heard them though.
Okay, so they are the Israeli. I would say maybe the Israeli Absu.
Okay, yeah.
Just a second. So they've been doing this, I think, since the mid-90s.
Yeah, I remember when Agalloch was working with The End. I believe that The End released something by Agalloch.
This is their latest release, and the last that I saw Agalloch, I believe, was when Mayhem played in Israel. I think it was this past December or January. I don't really remember. Okay. And they were the warm-up show, and they always do a very good job of doing that.
I didn't know they were from Jerusalem. I didn't even know they were from Israel.
Yes. This band is hardcore Jerusalem. And I actually went to see them in Jerusalem also. I think it was last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Isn't Melechesh, aren't they from Armenia?
Melechesh originally, I believe, they have Israeli roots. They reside in the Netherlands. And Moti, the man behind Agalloch, he played some session bass for Melechesh. I don't remember even when that was.
Oh, okay. I saw Melechesh 4 or 5 years ago in Germany. think it was Germany. It was a festival that Agalloch was playing. They played right before us. And I've always liked their records. It was really cool to see them live.
I have to ask something. As a musician, you go to these festivals and you do them. You play in them. Actually, do you spend time watching the bands?
Depends. It really depends on. It depends on what the festival is like, what your time is like. Sometimes it's just like in and out, and you don't have time. And then other times, you have a lot of downtime. So sometimes you find yourself spending like an entire day watching bands, and then other times you just don't have the time. So it's been both ways for me.
I understand, because I think that I think that even though you're a musician and you played in a huge band, at least for me personally, I still see you like I wouldn't say you were a groupie, but you're a big fan, and I can see that you still enjoy the music very much, even though you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Agalloch was kind of a mid-level band. I mean, we were popular and we were big, but we would play these festivals with bands like Death, Amorphous, Sepultura, Obituary, and yeah, I would turn into a fanboy. It was just like,
I can totally understand.
I mean, we played a couple times where like we played a festival where Amorphous played Tales from a Thousand Lakes in its entirety, or we got off stage and
album.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorites. Or the time that we were hanging out backstage with Death, and they were showing us Chuck's guitar because the singer was playing Chuck's guitar.
Oh man!
And then we got off stage, and then they get on stage right after that and open up with Pull the Plug. It's just, you can't help but be humbled by those things, because it's these bands and these artists that have meant so much to you. And those type of experiences are just, they're mind-blowing. Sometimes you're at the danger of becoming complacent and taking it for granted, but I always really tried to just really put myself in the moment and enjoy the experiences that I was able to have. So when I did have the time, I tried to take advantage of it as much as possible.
I see. That I remember you told me you guys toured with Disembowelment.
Well, we played one show with them. We played Roadburn with them.
And I was like, I played the Nail like two songs before, and this is like the Israeli version of Disembowelment. I think, it really reminds me of Transcendence to the Peripheral. What a record!
Right.
When you told me that you played with them, I was like, oh man, to see you guys and them all together would have been perfect, really.
Well, yeah, that was a crazy show. That was us and Disembowelment and Ulver and Killing Joke and Voivod.
Oh man, Ulver, this band, the recent artists that I found like the most influential and the ones that I really like are the ones that I consider chameleons, and Agalloch was much like that too. Maybe less extremely, but you would never know what to expect of their next record. You'd never know how it would sound, and no matter how
I love that.
I would say I wouldn't say weird, but new and different it would be. I would still love it.
Yeah, if you played anybody off the street, Naughton's Madrigal, and then played them Assassination of Julius Caesar, they would never, ever, ever guess in a million years it was the same band.
I usually do it, by the way.
Yeah.
This is what I do when I try to introduce people to Ulver. That's what I do. I played in either Naughton's Madrigal or Bergtat, and then I just, it's either Perdition City for me, which I think is my favorite album from Ulver, and Julius Caesar obviously was a huge release.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I can never get enough of Ulver. Their latest record is also amazing. Even my fiance liked that, and it never happened.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm into the newer Ulver, but I completely admire and respect the fact that they're constantly evolving, as they say. I adore the first three records, obviously. Perdition City is my favorite of the electro type records. Love Shadows of the Sun. The newer direction's just not really my thing, but I do
and it's even
respect it.
Even when you take the electronical stuff, there's a lot of variety in a lot of places you can take it to. How different is Shadows of the Sun from Julius Caesar, for instance.
Right.
It never ends for this band.
Oh yeah, or the soundtrack work they do is so different than the normal electronic stuff they do. It's fascinating. It's definitely respect and admire that band a lot.
They have this soundtrack, Lycanthropen themes. Man, I love this.
Love it. That's one of my favorites. Yeah. Have you seen the movie?
I have not. Is there a movie really? I thought it was like Imaginary or something like that.
No, there's really a movie. A friend of mine released it in the USA. I think it's long gone. I should ask him and see if he still has any copies, but he released it on DVD many years ago. It's very short. I think it's like a 20-minute, 30-minute film, but yeah, he released the DVD version, so it's out there.
And what I really think also, if you bring cinema to this conversation, is how perfect Agalloch was as like it was a perfect depiction. It's hard to describe for me, but it was like I wouldn't say the ultimate cinema band, but there was a lot of cinematic influences there, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. I think The Mantle is when we first started kind of experimenting with that a little bit. The Mantle was very much inspired by cinema, as well as Marrow. Marrow was really big, really hugely influenced by different films. So yeah, we were definitely into that. I think a lot of bands are. I just think that perhaps a band like Agalloch are over a little bit more transparent with it. But I really like trying to be influenced by other forms of medium rather than music. I think it really puts an interesting spin on it.
Totally. I think that maybe not enough bands are doing that, but
yeah, I agree. That's great. I really loved The Knell. I'm going to have to check out that record. That's awesome.
I will. And the next one I'm going to play is actually, I don't know if you've heard it. It's really new. It came out, I think, a month ago. Even less than a month ago. Okay.
I'm sure I haven't.
This record is really, I think it's a perfect record. I'll go on and say it's a perfect record.
Okay.
This band has played a lot of shows in Israel throughout the past, I think, 3 or 4 years. And the album was released again. The album has been, they've been writing it for almost 20 years. And it was released.
Oh, wow.
It was released a month ago. And this is, I would say, ultimate atmospheric metal. It's Fields of the Nephilim, it's Tiamat, it's everything combined together into this. It's like they've mixed it in a big pot, and I can't really describe this. You just have to listen. And the guitarist on this part, by the way, is the guitarist of. It's a guest guitarist from one of the most famous, I would say, mainstream bands in Israel. They're called Machina.
Okay.
They're a big mainstream band in Israel, and their guitarist played like a guest part in this. This song. I really wonder what you're gonna say about this one. Maybe you recognize the singer on this one? Singer is Yishai.
Sounds... Oh, okay.
This is Yishai's band.
So this is Tomorrow's Rain.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they've been playing warm-up concerts for all the big bands that Yishai is bringing over to Israel in the last, 4 or 5 years. And I can never get enough of them. There were some concerts that I went for the warm up. Honestly.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Because it was the only way I could listen to the songs up until this was released. Like
up until recently, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew this just came out, but yeah, I haven't checked it out. I kind of forgot about it. I'll have to check it out.
This for me really is a perfect album because it touches everything that I like about this genre.
Yeah.
This one perhaps not as heavy as other songs on the album, but as far as atmosphere goes, this is one of the best ones on this record. And it has really nice, unique guests also, this record. Kobi Farhi and Miko of The Swallow Sun and Fernando from Moonspell, which, by the way, they were in Israel like 3 or 4 years ago. It was like a huge concert, you know.
Yeah.
And you know what's very, very unique about this album? And really, Yishai is a genius for doing this, but all the songs have been... They have a Hebrew version of the album and an English version of the album. And this was never done.
Oh, wow.
This was never done before. So
That's crazy.
So this song has a Hebrew version, actually.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I've never heard of anybody doing anything like that. This is
really unique. And the Hebrew version has Israeli guests instead of the...
Oh, wow.
Yes, and they are a little bit more mainstream in Israel. Not everyone, but... and you know what Yishai has been doing is he's been taking vocal lessons with one of the most famous singers in Israel, and she has some orientation. She was like huge like 20 or 30 years ago, and she had some rock orientation. But you know, Yishai and Riki Gal, that's her name. I would never think of it for a second that she's a guest in one of the songs.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That's great.
And again, you know, I can never get enough of this one. And you could maybe even go on a limb and say that this is a super group. You know, the drummer on this album is Nir.
Sure.
He's Salem's drummer. He's the best. He's the best drummer in Israel by a mile. You know.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's the kind of drummer that, you know, this music is slow. You know, you don't need like the best drummer in the world to play this, but when Nir is behind the drums playing the songs, you sense that it's Nir. He has this this
is a style.
Yes, it's totally but you can only hear it live, I think. That it's really him behind the drums.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm gonna have to check this out for sure.
Yes, again, this song is a little bit more laid back than the others are. Mm-hmm. This is the first song off the album, but I think it's my favorite. Usually, before they go on stage, they play "Prayers for Rain" by The Cure.
But The Cure,
and then they go on stage with this song. And this is
that's cool.
This is a really good combination.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And this has the guitarist on, again, another embarrassing story. There was a band called Distorted in Israel. They had a deal for 2 albums in Candlelight.
Okay.
It's like a mixture of Orphaned Land and The Gathering, something like that, because they had female vocals.
All right. Mm-hmm.
And the guitarist and the male singer of Distorted, he plays guitar on this album. And when I was a student, I was working in a restaurant somewhere next to my college, and he came to eat with his family one day. And I was like, he no longer had the long hair from the concerts, and I looked like an ordinary guy, and I approached him, and I was like, "Are you Rafi from Distorted?" And he was like, "How do you know me?" It's something that I like doing, you know.
Yeah, I can tell. That's awesome.
So really, in terms of Israeli metal, you could say that it's a super group, definitely.
Yeah.
And also, what's different about Tomorrow's Rain than other bands is that they, and this really reminds me of Fields of the Nephilim. And I told Yishai that also. There are no intermissions, no speaking to the audience. They come to the stage, they play the concert, they say goodbye, and then they just leave. You know, it's like a cinema, basically.
Right, yeah. That's great. Yeah, very cool. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear Yishai's doing that. That's great.
Yes, and by the way, Yishai, it's not his first band to release such a, I would say, stellar record. You know, like 20 years ago, he released a record with a band called Nail Within. Nir Nakav, Salem's drummer, also
I remember that.
There.
Yeah.
This is a Swedish death metal made very well. You know, it's like if you like At the Gates and what they've been able to do, like with Slaughter of the Soul, this sounds just like it. You know.
Yeah, I remember that. He had a record. I can't remember what it was called, but do you know Mayor Applebaum?
Yes, of course.
Yes, yeah. He had that record with Mayor years ago too.
Oh man, it's so obscure. Yes, this is an obscure record, definitely.
Yeah, what was that band called? I can't remember.
Mesmerized.
That's it. Yep. Yeah, that's great.
Mayor
lives in L.A. now.
This is
Mayor's
obscure
been
music.
in L.A. for. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've known Mayor for quite a few years, but he's been in LA for a really long time now.
He lives in the States, and by the way, he used to play for Tomorrow's Rain back when they were still called Moonskin, like 15 years ago. There's a video of them playing this, because he's good friends with Yishai. There's a video of them on YouTube playing this particular song with a totally different lineup, and the song also sounds really the very different from what it just sounded.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's funny.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like a small world.
It is. You know, you wouldn't believe. You know, for speaking about the Israeli scene, you wouldn't believe how small Israel is. You know, when you meet a person, the first sentence will be, you know, you see where they work or where they were in the army or where they're from originally, and you know, 2 sentences into the conversation, you'll just ask, "Do you know this and that?" Like you just we did with Maor, and usually you'll have acquaintances. You know, more likely than not, you'll have acquaintances. It's such a small country.
Yeah. That's
great. I've been seeing some of your Facebook posts, and I noticed that you really like any sane metal fan, you like what Blood Incantation did on the recent most recent record.
Yeah, love those guys.
So when I first heard Hidden History of the Human Race, it's really revolutionary. I wouldn't say that it's not original. It is. It's very original. But we had a band in Israel that I think 15 years ago released something that is most resembling. You know, if I had to resemble it to an Israeli band, it would probably be this particular record.
Okay, great.
This is a band called Lehavot. Lehavot in Hebrew, it means flames.
All right.
So Lehavot, they started out as a black metal band, heavily influenced by, I would say, a mixture of maybe Dimmu Borgir and Darkthrone, something like that.
Okay,
and,
cool.
The first full length that they've released, it's called Hatred Shaped Man. It was released in 2003. It's kick-ass death metal. It's very. I would say many things that were done in Hidden History, I can hear them in this record, and actually the band this band that maybe 2 or 3 years after the release of this record, but to my liking, they have regrouped about 5 years ago, and they're going to release another. They're going to release another album very shortly. This song is called Non-Civilized.
Okay. And they're from Tel Aviv?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Awesome.
the singer Yuval, I keep bugging him about the new album. I really want to know when they're going to release this one. I think it's still being recorded. Their drummer is a Jewish American. Not on this album, but I think he lives in Israel because he did a couple of shows with them. But I think he's an American Jewish or American Israeli, something like that. But this is another record that I keep coming back into.
Yeah.
Now, can you hear the resemblance to Hidden History in any?
Yeah, I can a little bit. Yeah.
And when I heard Hidden History, I was like, okay, Lehavot used to do things similar to this one.
Yeah.
This is 2003, but they released another EP in 2014 that was even heavier than this.
Okay.
And again, Yuval, the singer of Lehavot, is probably one of the better performers in Israeli metal.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
In 2011, Salem did a show to commemorate 15 years for the release of Kaddish.
Okay.
And they had Yuval on stage sing a song off of their first album, Creating Our Sins.
Nice.
You can see it on YouTube. And again, Yuval shared it a few days ago, and I was like, one of your best performances. That was a really nice. The whole show is on YouTube as well. 15 years. I think it was 15 years. No, it was 25 years for Kaddish. Kaddish was released on '94. That was 2011. It was like 6 months before Agalloch came to Israel. Same venue, by the way.
Yeah. Can you maybe turn it down just a little bit? You're cutting out, and it might be. Yeah, I lost that last sentence. I couldn't hear you at all.
So I said that.
There you go. That sounds better.
No, now I remember that it was not 25 years. It was Kaddish came out remastered in 2011. Where they had a little excerpt from Dawn. So it was a release show for this remaster, and it's the whole show is on YouTube, which is very unusual for Salem.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah,
it was played on the same venue as the Agalloch show, by the way.
And that was called
Reading 3. Yeah, the Reading 3. Yeah.
Reading 3. Yeah.
It's in the Tel Aviv port.
And that. Yeah. Okay. That's right. There was it was right by the ocean there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of. Yeah. It's funny. I kind of remember. I mean, I remember the inside of the venue really well. I kind of remember the outside just a little bit.
I think it's one of the better places to go to a metal concert in Israel these days.
Yeah, it was really nice and big, and the sound is great. Amenities were great. I befriended the sound man, Wolf, that was working there. Did you know Wolf?
I don't believe that I do. Maybe with the face.
He was from the States, but moved to Israel a long time ago. But unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago as well.
Oh man, really?
Yeah. But he was just kind of like this biker guy that got sick of the States.
I see.
Moved to Israel and was the sound guy there, and said he loved Israel because he could be on the beach and hang out. And then he passed away probably 7 years ago, something like that.
I see, but I think that probably it was a really different scenery for him in Tel Aviv than it was in the States.
Yeah, and I think he said he was from Arizona, if I remember correctly.
Oh, so maybe the weather was a little bit resembling.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. But definitely no Mediterranean Sea in Arizona.
Yeah. Perhaps that lake, they have this artificial lake with connecting with Vegas. It's where I proposed. Yeah. That's why I remember.
You proposed in the States?
Yes, we were traveling.
Really?
Yes, we were. We were on Vegas, and we went on a chopper trip to the Grand Canyon, and we landed there, and that's where I did it. And we saw this. It's a huge lake. It's a huge lake. It's artificial.
So I don't know that area very well, so I'm not sure which lake that would be. But Huh. Interesting. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
So the next one, again, I was saying that Lehavot started out as a black metal band. And I also said that during the early 90s, we had this huge outburst and many influence of the early Death Doom, peaceful Death Doom, Paradise Lost and Anathema.
Right.
And early 2000s was definitely black metal,
Okay, yeah.
You had many, many black metal bands, some more melodic, some less melodic. And this particular one is a band that it's one of the first black metal bands I ever saw live in Israel.
Okay.
They don't exist anymore. This band's called Bartholomew's Night.
Okay, yeah.
And when they used to do performances, it was all corpse paint. You'd get the whole package, and this was very brutal for this time. And they were like, I think this demo was released in 2003 or 2004, just a little after I got big into metal in Israel, and I was mind blown by this live performance.
Oh yeah, there you go.
This one's called Survival of the Fittest.
Cradle of Filth influence there, sounds like.
Yes, a lot, and this was big. During this time, maybe 2000, 2001, 2003, it was definitely black metal around here. Many bands sounded like that back in the day.
Yeah. What are these guys called again?
Bartholomew's Night.
Right, okay.
I think that this particular EP or demo, I think it was a demo, it would be hard to come by, but their first album probably would be a little bit easier to get.
Okay.
I think it'll be on YouTube as well.
Nice.
I think they attempted a comeback sometime in 2010, 2011, something like that. I would be happy to see them. Again, I also... another story, I also very weirdly approached their singer. I was looking like... I was working somewhere in Tel Aviv when I was an accountant. I worked many times in client sites, and it was an office of this company. And I went out for lunch, and then I saw him, and I was like almost suit and tie, almost. Yeah. I definitely didn't look like a metalhead, and I was like, "You're Itai, the singer of Bartholomew's Night, right?" And he's like, "How would you know that?" I do that a lot, I'm very weird when it comes to that. Yeah,
I feel like you've done that with every band you've played so far.
Almost the ones I've been able to meet.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I like, I really like to see the expression on their faces when they see the most random guy on the street approach them about their weird band. That's
great. I've done that with a few fans before at Agalloch shows. I'll see them and I'll be like, "Oh, aren't you so-and-so?" And they're like, how do you know me? I'm like, I see you on Facebook.
That's probably really nice for them.
Nice or extremely creepy. I'm not sure which.
But, what I noticed as an Agalloch fan is that Agalloch has, a very, very strong cult following. You said you were a medium band.
Yeah.
But, the fan base is so strong and so dedicated. Did you feel it as a member of the band?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was overwhelming. Just we never expected that we would be doing things like going to play in Tel Aviv, and then of course when you show up and there's hundreds and hundreds of people that know the music, and Tel Aviv, the audience was singing along like every word, and people obviously just loved it, and you guys are a world away from us, and that was just completely amazing, and that wasn't the only place we experienced stuff like that, and so of course it's like you get to know that pretty well, that people are really, really dedicated and really attached to the music.
And I also felt it as a fan. I was standing very close to you guys during the show, and when Dawn came out with this Salem T-shirt, by the way, I have the exact same one.
Yeah,
I was like, oh man, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember the solo that he played for I now I'm a little excited, so I forgot the name of the song. It's part 2 off of Ashes, Bloodbirds, obviously. Bloodbirds, yeah. And oh my God, that was like, I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if you remember that particular moment of the show. You were playing, but so maybe you don't. But it was like he was all over the ground, and it was like, oh man, this guy knows what he's doing. Agalloch live is totally different than the records.
Yeah, well, we wanted to do something different live. Like, why would we want to play the record live? You can stay at home and listen to the record. We wanted to do something a little different.
Totally, man. That was screaming outside like that. I have to ask you also. I have to ask you also about because you do have some connection to the Israeli scene, and it goes way back. Also from your the end days, or I would say,
yeah.
You have an acquaintance used to play for his band.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. Tomer.
Yes, this particular EP, I go back to it every once in a while as well, and this is one of my favorite releases by an Israeli metal artist. Tomer is I think he's one of the premier metal songwriters in Israel, if not the best, and he's probably one of the best. He's so creative, and the music is so original, I would say.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they've gone, and it's really evolved, from the psychotic state into the records that they do today. Yes,
the evolution of that band is pretty amazing to me. And looking back to when he flew me down to Salt Lake to record bass on that first EP, to compared to what they're doing now and what they've done since I was in the band, it's really amazing. I'm really happy for Tomer. It's fantastic. I haven't heard anything he's done recently, and I haven't talked to him in quite a while. I should reach out to him.
Yeah, he has a company that does all the stage arrangements for big concerts.
Okay.
And you can imagine these are not easy times for people like this. But he's been creative, he tries to do other stuff now, like he's doing a lot of Facebook ads for businesses these days instead. But I really wish for people like that, for things to go back to normal.
Yeah, for sure. So of course we are talking about Subterranean Masquerade.
Exactly.
Yes.
And again, it started when Tomer, the leader of this band, he lived in the States and he worked for the End Records.
Yes.
And since then he came back to Israel, and back in the day, the band consisted of many foreign musicians, and Tomer was the heart and soul of this squad. But right now, it's only Israeli musicians. So that's also pretty nice. This particular their latest record. It's called Vagabond, and the only non-Israeli there is Shatil Nordhus, he's also a singer from a Green Carnation and so forth. I got to meet him also when they came to play this launch show in Israel. This song is called Kippur.
Okay, nice.
How different is this from Psychotic State of Mind?
It's so different.
It's like two different bands, and I love both records.
It essentially is a different band. I mean, it's so crazy. Tomer, he was on Agalloch's first tour when we toured with Virgin Black and Antimatter on the West Coast. And we just did like
Antimatter, man, I love their stuff.
Yeah, right. It's great. We did like 5 or 7 shows along the West Coast of America, and Tomer was with us to drive and help out, and Andreas from the end was as well. And after that tour, Tomer told me, this has really inspired me to start my own band. Like seeing Agalloch play, I really want to start my own band. Do you want to play bass? I was like, yeah, sure. So I did that first EP, and then Agalloch got a lot more popular and a lot bigger after that, and I had to bow out. I just didn't have the time to take on Subterranean Masquerade anymore.
No, but this sounds really Jason-like.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, I love this part of this song.
The snake of Eden, the boogeyman, 2,000 years of poison.
They used to have, I think it was also back in Psychotic State when you still played in Subterranean, that Paul Kerr was the guy doing the grunts. And this is his replacement. He's actually a very good friend of mine. His name is Eliran. He's no longer with Subterranean, but he did the growls in this album.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to this more too. This is really good.
I first heard it and I was like, how does somebody even come up with this music?
Yeah, yeah.
And in live, it's even more intense, you know.
Yeah.
No, this is I really stand by what I said. You know, when Tomer is probably one of the premier songwriters here. I mean, this is like a party. If you'll see their shows on YouTube,
it really is.
If you see their shows on YouTube, this is a band I want to play in my son's bar mitzvah, you know, and it's a compliment.
Yeah. Right? No, it kind of looks like that. Like it does look like a party on stage. I've seen, I haven't seen any videos, I don't think, but I've seen some photos.
Yeah, they're doing it pretty good. And also the artwork in this album is really, really unique, I would say, yeah.
I'm not sure if I've seen it. I'll have to look that up.
The album is called Vagabond.
Okay.
I also love Shatil's vocals on this one.
I like that. That's really cool.
And you know, as a player, Tomer is just a rhythm guitarist, you know. You could see on stage that he doesn't do much, you know.
Yeah.
But he's the brain behind all this, and this is why it's so nice.
Yeah,
you know?
It's amazing. Yeah.
I don't know what's
working with.
I don't know what's more difficult, executing or planning all this, you know.
Yeah. Well, working with him in the studio, he definitely had like an idea for every little tiny part, and he was directing in the studio. He was saying, you know, you do this here and you do this here, and he let us, at least in my experience, he let us all breathe. You know, we wrote our own parts, we had our own input, but he definitely was like, I need this sample here. This has got to have like this little flourish here. There's got to be a melody here. Like he had the whole thing completely planned out.
I think it's very, very impressive, you know, when somebody has the goal. And yeah, I think that I read an interview with him once, and he said that this album was really emotionally draining to not Vagabond. It was their debut album, Suspended Animation Dreams.
Yes.
It was released through the end, and it also sounds like a totally different band than this one.
It does,
it's
totally.
It's closer to the EP that you recorded with them.
It is, very much.
And he said it was very draining. I can imagine what goes through, Did you have any phases, when you were recording and you were working on an album and you felt like it was no longer fun? It felt like a job or?
Yeah, it's rare. It was rare for me. I mean, I've always loved the process, and I love being in the studio, and I love recording, but yeah, sometimes there's moments where it does feel like a chore, especially if things are going wrong or if pieces aren't coming together. Serpent in the Sphere, Serpent in the Sphere felt like that sometimes. But I'd say for the most part, no, but it does happen here and there. And you get 4 or 5 people in a room that all have like a similar goal, but different ideas. And that sometimes becomes an issue. But most of the time I always enjoyed it. I always felt lucky to be in the studio making music.
Many guys with bands would say that. Yes, I hear similar stories.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's pretty common, and ideally everybody really, really cares about the outcome, and people really want it to be the best it can be. And so, of course, you're going to get differing opinions, and people are going to be passionate about it. And it's just working with compromising and working with and trusting others to do what's right on their instrument, and it can be difficult.
I can understand.
Yeah. But yeah, I always felt lucky. I mean, it's one of my favorite things in the world. And so whether it's performing or writing or recording music, I 99% of the time I'm loving it.
Do you have like a main project that if it wasn't for this situation you'd have played live for?
Yeah, actually I had to cancel a bunch of shows this year. I have more music going on now than I ever have, I think. I'm doing solo work that's kind of like cinematic soundscape type stuff that I was performing a lot with. I did a small tour in February, and I was supposed to have a few more shows this year, and I had to cancel those. I have a project called Sleep Chains that's kind of like a industrial Godflesh type of project, and we had some shows to play. Had to cancel those. I have a Doom project called Dolvin. It's all acoustic guitar Doom. And we had a couple shows.
I must hear that.
Yeah, it's my friend Nick Woos. He wrote all the songs, and we have one record that's done. The second one is almost done. The first record has Tim Call, the drummer of Mournful Congregation, on drums.
Oh, man, I love this band.
Yeah, and we released that record 3 years ago, maybe, but we had a couple shows this year that were supposed to be our very first shows ever, and those got canceled. Yeah, quite a bit of stuff that I was supposed to be doing this year that I'm not, but it's also been good because I can concentrate more on studio work. Such as the new Sculptured. The new Sculptured is about 98% done now.
Really? I did not know.
Yeah. We've been working on it for a really long time. But yeah, like a really long time. It's really massive. It's really intricate. It's really complicated. And I've been mixing it for the last year and a half, something like that. So, but it's really close to being done. So it's given me, the lockdown has given me more time to focus on things like wrapping up the Sculptured record. And I have some other projects that are just starting that I can focus on those too. So yeah, live performances, it's been pretty bad for me, but I'm just trying to shift my focus in other directions.
And I think many of my musician friends say the same. You cannot perform, but you can do like studio work and songwriting.
Yeah. It doesn't pay the bills for people, because usually that's how people are making their money, is from live performances. But it's nice for me to be able to. I was getting overwhelmed, honestly, like right before quarantine. I just had too much on my plate. I have a family. I work full time. I've got a million bands. I've got a podcast. I've just had too much stuff going on, and everything was happening at once. And so quarantine was nice for me in a way, because then I could just really prioritize on what needs to get done.
I can really relate. I also work very hard. I do multiple things at time, and I never do just one single thing. Never ever.
Yeah, me too.
So I can totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I will play the last song.
Sounds good. Yeah.
This one is by a band of a really, really good friend of mine. His name is Oz, and they are huge Agalloch fans. And this is the one that I told you that their EP actually the guitar work is very similar to Embodiment. Very,
wow.
I always told them that it's like exactly. I hear Embodiment when I hear your EP. This one's their first album. Awesome. It won't be as similar, but I wonder what you're going to think of this. This band called Obsidian Tide.
Okay.
I think this was released. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe a little less.
Okay.
And what's really unique about these guys is that they're a trio.
Oh wow! All right.
You wouldn't see many bands like that these days.
Right.
And somehow their live performances, you don't feel like it's a trio.
Yeah, it feels bigger, larger.
Yeah. This is what I like about them. I always tell them that.
Past what your mortal eyes can see, through the blind eternity, break the earthly limits of the flesh, set your spirit free afresh.
Again, I'm a huge fan of atmospheric stuff.
Yeah.
And this one is atmospheric, and really, it ticks all the boxes for me.
Yeah.
Made of primal haze, crimson woven into gold. All existence dreams the fate of all the pillars of creation hold.
This album is called Pillars of Creation.
Okay, nice.
It's also the song's name. They release a lot of, it's their second release, first full length, and their albums are always concept albums about tales and myths.
Okay, yeah, cool.
I think they even have their own story that they've created.
Wow.
This particular album, you can hear many Tool influences.
Yeah, I can hear that right here. Yeah. I can hear a little sculptured here too.
This is what I'm talking about exactly.
Yeah.
But their EP, you can hear it much more. I love that drum part.
Yeah, that's awesome. His voice is really good.
Yes, I also like his clean vocals here.
Yeah.
You're in for a surprise because he's the guitarist, and he sings he does the clean vocals, and the bass he does the grunts.
Okay, cool.
So as a trio, it really works. Really.
Yeah.
I think they're the ultimate trio for me.
Yeah.
I really think that these days for young bands, it's really, really hard to succeed. You know.
Yeah.
I read a post by singer Enforcer. It's like this heavy metal band from Sweden, and he said that it's really hard for even medium bands, small to medium bands from the world, and even bigger than that to get spots on big festivals.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. The whole thing is hard. It's a hard pursuit for sure. Yeah, this really reminds me of kind of like a mix of Sculptured and Tool.
I'm glad you say that, because when I told him it reminds me of Sculptured, he was very surprised. But I could really hear it, you know.
Yeah, I can hear Don in that guitar work.
Amazing, you know. He's a huge Agalloch fan, so he'll love to hear that.
That's awesome.
But for me, you know, this was released, and it was really big, even for a small band. I really loved what they did. Also huge influence of them is Alcist. And they played.
Oh, yeah.
They played in Israel like 3 times, courtesy of Yishai, of course. And these were big concerts for me, you know.
Yeah,
they're so enchanting.
I love those guys. Those guys are great. I always have a good time with them.
Did you tour with them a lot?
No, they played their very first show opening for us in Romania.
Oh, really?
And we'd known them a little bit before that, but we played 2 shows in Romania, and in Bucharest they opened for us, and that was the first time we met them in person. And then we ran into each other at festivals and stuff after that. Yeah, great guys, really fantastic musicians and great guys, and I've always loved that band.
When they came to Israel, they always came to a very small venue. It was up to 300 people or something like that, and it makes the concert all the more special.
Yeah, yeah, I like those small, intimate concerts.
I think it was the fastest sellout that Yishai ever had. The first concert was sold out like within a day or something like that. Yishai was blown away.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, they're huge now. They're so big.
Yeah, they got big, and for a reason, you know. They're I love all their albums, and their recent one is really good.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Dal, I got to wrap this up, man. But thank you so much for showing me all this Israeli music and spending this time with me. It's been fantastic.
I should be thanking you. Thank you very much. It's been a huge opportunity. Thanks so much.
Yeah, well, let's maybe do a part 2 if you've got more songs. We can do it again.
Not a problem.
Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, Jason. Have a lovely day.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you too. See ya.
Thanks. Bye-bye.